Hello, I'm James Ezimoha. Welcome to African News. Let's see your headlines. President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, via a telephone call, has urged President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, to end the war in Ukraine, according to reports. Authorities say a second-year student has died following a campus protest in Senegal. And the 4th International Women's Film Festival, celebrating African storytellers, wraps up in Cotonou. Senegal's largest university has suspended classes indefinitely after a student was killed during clashes linked to protests over unpaid financial aid. The incident at Sheikh Anta Diop University has triggered calls for accountability, with right groups condemning what they describe as excessive police force.
Senegal's top university announced on Tuesday that it would be closed until further notice after a student died during protests over unpaid financial aid. Demonstrations at Sheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar began in early December and escalated on Monday as students and security forces clashed. Footage verified by Reuters showed students scrambling to escape flames and smoke engulfing the building, with some falling to the ground.
Vous avez vu dans les vidéos?
The government said on Monday that second-year dental surgery student Abdoulaye Ba died during the clashes and that an investigation had been launched. A student association president said Ba suffered fatal head trauma and severe blood loss. They added that Ba was not participating in the protests, but was assaulted by police who entered students' rooms before taking him to a nearby student welfare office. Police in Dakar did not respond to a request for comment. I was in my room when the explosion started. Because of the tear gas, I had to go outside, and that's when I saw a heavy police presence, as if we were at war, this student says. And this student called himself a victim and said officers, quote, brutalized him in his dorm. A government statement described Ba's death as a result of injuries sustained during, quote, serious events on campus, but did not give further details. In a joint statement, rights groups, including Amnesty International, condemned what they called the disproportionate use of force by police.
The leaders of Russia and South Africa have held talks where they discussed ways to end the conflict in Ukraine. In a telephone exchange, Russian President Vladimir Putin and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa reportedly spoke about how political means could help end the war in Ukraine. Isaac Lucando reports.
In a statement, the Kremlin said President Vladimir Putin updated his South African counterpart on developments in Ukraine, emphasizing Russia's commitment to resolve the conflict diplomatically. South African President Ramaphosa has expressed support for Russia's efforts to bring an end to the conflict, which is in its 4th year now. In the past, the South African president has said that enduring peace is only attainable through diplomatic dialogue. In the past, South Africa has offered to help mediate a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, and the call comes as efforts led by the US and EU to end the war have stalled. The two leaders also discussed the issue of South African nationals becoming embroiled in the conflict on the front lines. South African officials stated that they had received reports of at least 17 individuals who joined armed forces operating in eastern Ukraine in November last year. The South African government indicated that several of those individuals have sought assistance to return home. The two leaders have said they will work together to bring those South Africans home. Both heads of state also expressed their desire for sustained cooperation aimed at enhancing economic ties between South Africa and Russia. Additionally, they stressed the importance of aligning their nations' positions in forums such as the Group of 20 and the BRICS bloc. Criticism has emerged regarding South Africa's relations with Moscow following its recent involvement in joint military drills alongside Russia, China and Iran, even as its ties with the US have soured. Ties between South Africa and Russia date back several decades, stemming from Moscow's support of the anti-apartheid movement during the Cold War era. These relations have since strengthened through collaboration among BRICS members. Isaac Lukando for A News in Dar es Salaam.
Critical minerals are dominating discussions at this year's Mining Indaba in Cape Town. The annual gathering brings together government, investors and major industry players. But beyond exploration and exports of critical minerals, leaders say Africa must speak as one.
Australian miner Canon Resources is on track to produce its first shipment of bauxite from Cameroon in Central Africa. Bauxite is the primary ore used in the production of aluminium metal, a highly sought-after critical commodity in the new energy era.
At the moment, our current project is raw material bauxite, but we are looking at downstream. So we're doing a feasibility study on a refinery in the country as well, which should come out third quarter calendar years this year.
The topic of critical minerals dominated discussions at the Mining Indaba in Cape Town.
It's quite important for us to have a partnership on critical minerals. Africa must talk with one voice.
When you create all the environment in all spheres of the activities to enable companies to invest in transformation, in value addition of that mineral. We are creating the enabling infrastructure in terms not only of the geological infrastructure, but also energy.
Africa must change this narrative that the IMF will construct a program for us in our countries. We must construct the programs and ask the IMF to support us in our programs.
African governments are seeking ways to leverage their vast mineral deposits amid the global scramble for resources, not just to mine them, but to build local industries around them.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, a group of lawyers and human rights activists has filed a lawsuit challenging an economic agreement the government signed with the United States in Washington, D.C. last December. The lawyers say the deal, which grants the U.S. preferential access to DRC's minerals, violates the country's constitution. Chris Ocharmga has more.
The Congolese lawyers filed a case at the Constitutional Court in the DRC capital, Kinshasa. They say the economic partnership between their government and the U.S. threatens their country's sovereignty because it gives the U.S. a direct role in overseeing the management of the DRC's mining sector. They added that the deal violates their country's constitution, which requires that parliament or a referendum approve any amendment to the law. But Congolese government officials have denied any wrongdoing, saying the deal is mutually beneficial and will help restore peace in their country's east. Key opposition figures in the DRC have also criticized the deal, saying it prioritizes the economic and geopolitical interests of the U.S. and overlooks the need for justice for the victims of the long-running conflict. The DRC president offered the U.S. access to his country's minerals in exchange for U.S. support in fighting the M23 rebels who have captured swathes of territory in the mineral-rich eastern region. In recent years, the U.S. government has signed mining deals with other countries to reduce its reliance on China, which dominates rare earth mineral mining. Chris Ochamringa for A News in Kinshasa.
Nigeria may be edging towards an economic turnaround after years of decline in continental rankings. The new projections from the International Monetary Fund suggest Africa's most populous nation could reclaim ground next year, rising to become the continent's third largest economy.
In 2025, Nigeria ranked as Africa's fourth largest economy with a GDP of about $285 billion, behind South Africa, Egypt and Algeria. But the IMF now estimates Nigeria's GDP will rise to about $334 billion in 2026. That would push Africa's most populous nation ahead of Algeria, projected at $284 billion.
These projections makes external investors, both short and long-term investors, to have confidence in you. That's why they bring capital into your market.
Nigeria's projected rebound follows years of economic decline. The country was Africa's largest economy a decade ago, before currency controls, weak growth and falling oil outputs, which dragged it down the rankings. Since 2023, President Tinubu's administration has pushed through tough reforms, removing fuel subsidies, liberalizing the naira and overhauling tax policy. Those changes have reshaped growth drivers, lifted investor confidence, and helped stabilize key macroeconomic indicators. But despite the upbeat outlook, economists caution the projection is not guaranteed. Oil price swings and production shortfalls, inflation pressures, and security concerns could still weigh on growth. They say sustaining the rebound will depend on policy discipline.
It's not something for people to start celebrating. It is just something to show that, more hard work needs to be done. We must be able to cage in insecurity. That's very critical. 2, we must be able to focus more on our infrastructure. Okay? And 3rd, yes, equally important too, is our human capital. Now, are we making progress? Yes, we are. That must be acknowledged.
For Nigerians, the real test will be lower inflation, rising employment, stronger manufacturing and improved living standards, not just a higher position in Africa's economic ranking.
A Tunisian startup says it has found a practical way to stop urban waste from overwhelming drainage systems and spilling into the sea. The innovation is already being tested in the coastal town of Lekram following recent flood damage.
In the coastal Tunisian town of Lekram, workers carefully lower a galvanized steel basket into a rainwater drainage channel. It's a Zigo filter. It aims to intercept trash, saving it from clogging drainage systems or polluting marine ecosystems. Mohamed Ramez's Tunisian startup Way Out is behind the innovation.
Way Out started from a Tunisian reality. Today we realise that there is a very big problem in Tunisia, which is the waste present on our streets. We understood that trash does not stay on the streets, but instead goes into rainwater drainage channels.
Ramez says more than 2,500 filters have been installed across more than 25 municipalities. It's preventing tons of waste and tons of plastic from reaching the drainage network and water bodies, he says. Hela Jazri, a researcher at Tunisia's National Institute of Marine Science and Technology, says some 650 to 750 metric tons of plastic enter the Mediterranean Sea daily, and much of it comes from the drains. Jazari says solutions to prevent plastic pollution are critical, noting concerns about microplastics ingested by humans. Lekram was the first municipality to test the system, according to local official Thoraya Bouassida. She says it has been effective, noting that the areas with Zigo filters installed were spared damage in recent floods. Way Out says the galvanized steel filters are cost-effective as they don't require expensive reconstructions. But more than that, founder Ramez says the company's mission is to raise public awareness. It wants people to realize that their summer beach and the fish they eat are all connected to what's being thrown on the street.
In Benin, the 4th International Women's Film Festival has wrapped up in Cotonou with a celebration of female African storytellers. Organizers say the 5-day event championed creativity, training and visibility for women shaping the continent's cinematic landscape.
The finale of the International Women's Film Festival was marked with a high-energy celebration crowning new Amazons. The grand prize, also known as Amazon d'Or, was awarded to Nigerian director Abesi Akami.
This is my second time in Benin, and this is by far my best time here in Benin. The festival is so organized. Cornelia, the festival director, is so giving, so welcoming, and she genuinely cares about African women filmmaking. So this festival is wonderful. I highly encourage African women with stories to definitely apply for the next one.
The 5-day festival featured 18 films representing 15 different African countries, reviewed by a dedicated selection committee. Participants believe Akemi's win from the diverse lineup was well-deserved.
She was my teacher for 8 months. We did a training course and she taught us a lot about production. To have won this Golden Amazon Award in my country, Benin, it's an honor for us, and it proves how talented she is. We are proud.
4 other awards recognized different aspects of filmmaking.
I am very happy and very proud to receive the Best Performance Award for my first film. It represents recognition for this film, which has been on its journey for a while now. It's always nice to see that audiences have enjoyed the film, and above all, that such an exceptional jury as the one we had here recognized the talent of my lead actress in this film.
The biennial event was founded in 2019 by filmmaker Cornelia Glele and has since engaged with over 1,000 film practitioners. Organizers say it continues to establish itself as a space where the future of African women's cinema can take shape.
But that's all we have today in African News. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News.